Hello, good evening. It's 6:38. I went again back to the store and ended up getting eggs. Um and I tried my best to do the self-checkout. Still needed someone to come and help me. But yeah. Um but I ended up getting eggs and some like shredded cheese so I can make like eggs in the morning. Um, and then I might do like eggs and potatoes. I didn't do the potatoes today. I've been kind of in a weird, I don't know. It's like a weird state where my like my back, the like pain from sleeping on it wrong is still there, but it's like only when I'm like here or like up here. So it's like it's still there, but it's like not really bad unless I move in the weird way. Um, and then for some reason, my like middle back uh, on my like right side started bothering me. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Um, I watched a few like reader videos, and I kid you not, it's like all the videos that have been popping up for me, they've literally all been about this like divine counterpart thing. And they all basically say the same thing. It's kind of crazy how like there's like 3 or 4 videos throughout the day that, you know, just pop up where it's like I'm in the final stages of like I've stripped away everything. I'm in the final stages of like preparing myself and being as open as I can. And because of that, I'm going to feel really tired and I'm going to struggle with sleep. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's literally what's happening. I've felt really exhausted for the past few days. And I've been struggling with sleep. Um, I slept better, but it's like I still have a sleep deficit. So I think that's why I've felt really sluggish today. I mean, that on top of like, I don't know. I'm still just really tired. Like, I just want to lay and sleep all day. So I've been just kind of resting. Um, yeah, it's bizarre. Um, so yeah, so I've been, I'm not pushing myself. I'm not doing anything crazy, and it just seems like recently in the past few days it's been like that. So I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna question it, and I'm just gonna kind of let it happen as it happens. But um, aside from that, I've been reading. Uh, I've been enjoying my reading, but I've been reading, and whenever, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but whenever I read, it tends to be a time of reflection. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like I see and I listen to the story I'm reading fully. But there are like small gaps in between the words where my like mental processing speed is so fast when it comes to like reading. Um I say reading, You can say I'm not reading for listening to an audiobook, that's fine. But basically I I have this small gap, and that small gap gives me, it's like the reading becomes the catalyst to allow me to inspect, like, parts of me that maybe I wouldn't necessarily think of in the moment. And a lot of it maybe has to do with like the novel, because I kind of try to put myself in um the shoes of whoever is the main protagonist in the novel. And it allows me, when I fully become that perspective, to examine myself from that perspective. And because every novel's different, there's some commonalities, but there's, like, the unique flair. Um, it allows me to see different parts of myself. And so, I've been just kind of examining myself. And I don't know. I think about, like, legacy and um kind of drive, desire, all of these kind of things that we as mortals kind of go through and experience. And I think that I've mentioned that I think that there's kind of meta progression, so to speak, when it comes to our souls. Um, and I think about the meta progression, and I think about what would be like, obviously I don't know what the meta progression is. I don't know what makes the meta progression better, worse, the same, whatever. But I think about how with each life that you live, um, there's there's this kind of idea that this life is the only life that's instilled. And I think that's kind of instilled in us as a means to make sure that we don't languish and slow down the meta progression, because, well, if we have 10 million lives or infinite lives, then whatever you do here is effectively meaningless in the grand scheme of things. But it actually isn't. And so that's where it's like, it's interesting. You kind of can get into this, there's this like trough, like, trap where you think it's your only life, but if you realize that it really isn't your only life, and that this is just a small part of the whole, you can kind of get really nihilistic and be like, well, nothing matters. And that's technically true, but it's not. It's like saying that um walking in a specific direction, like, well, it doesn't matter, you're still walking. It's like, yeah, that's technically true, but um maybe you're going to like the store. And so if you're walking in, like, all paths lead to the store. Yeah, that's true, but there are certain paths that are quicker than other paths. Um and so it's like, obviously, me walking around the world to get there, technically it could happen. I could, like, walk on fucking water and cross different continents and all of this other stuff, right? Obviously, we're doing this in a very hypothetical way, right? But, like, eventually you get back and you get to the store, and it's like, yeah, okay, like, yeah, theoretically it was all like, all paths lead to the same place, but clearly just walking down the street in the different direction, you would have gotten there, like, way, way faster. And I think that's kind of where there's this idea that I kind of have come to, where it's like, technically, if you have infinite lives that you can spend, um, then really, regardless of what you do, you will eventually get there. And so that's where the nihilism comes from. Is like, yeah, well, if it's infinite, then why does it matter what I do now? But it's because there are infinite paths, that the paths that you lead and the decisions you make in this life matter even more, because if you cherish everything that you do now, the resting, the simply, like eating a watermelon. Like, I got a slice of watermelon and it has seeds in it, but it's so delicious that the seeds don't bother me. Usually I kind of don't like getting seeded watermelons, but it's so good. And I think about how, like, does all the specifics matter? And, like, why does it matter that I want to eat healthy? If I die eventually, why does it matter whether I die sooner or later? And the answer is, I want to accomplish more in my life. And so, because I want to accomplish more in my life, I want to be healthier. And so, if I want to be healthier, I should be eating healthy food. And so, in that context, well, now it does matter a lot. And so, of course, that's why my fridge has mostly fruits and vegetables. There's a few cheese and meat, like, little packets, but that's like the minority. Um, and I just think it's interesting that something as simple as food, if you look at the individual components of, like, feeding your body, being healthy, and all of this stuff, it seems really straightforward to be like, yeah, eat healthy, have a healthy body. But there's kind of like, you also have the enjoyment of living your life to also kind of keep in balance. So it's like, in the past, I swear this, like, leads somewhere. In the past, I thought about the idea of, damn, I really wish that I could take a pill and eat all the like, get all the healthy nutrients for my body with that one pill. Like, I'd totally do that 100 out of 100. However, I also think about how I would kind of cut off a whole section of enjoyment that I get from eating fruits, vegetables, the different, like tofus and meats and all that stuff. And so, I go back to that now and I think about how like I'd probably still do it, but I would also kind of not do it every day, even though objectively it'd probably be worse for me health wise, because I think there's a balance to be had where it comes to like, yeah, maybe it's not the healthiest thing uh to not calculate every exact micro and macronutrient like I used to. But if I'm at 90 or 95%, or even 85% of the like health values, where I'm kind of, I got a general like intuitive sense of like, okay, I ate this fruits, I ate these vegetables. Um, thinking back on like the main pillar was like broccoli, carrots, and spinach as kind of like the three pillar vegetables that kind of got a lot of mileage. And so it's like, I eat carrots every day. I got the veggies, um, like the spinach blend. I don't have broccoli. I haven't found broccoli, which is like, what the fuck? Does broccoli just not exist here? Like, am I missing it? Is it in some weird form that I don't know about? I was like, because broccoli is like everywhere in the US. So I'm like, to be fair, I haven't looked everywhere. So it's very possible broccoli's somewhere that I just haven't found yet. So, but there's a lot of stuff in here that the US might not have. So that's also something. But yeah, so I guess getting back to what I was talking about before about like nothing matters. If you take that to the extreme of nothing matters, so I can do anything or whatever, you can live an incredibly indulgent life that basically accomplishes nothing. And then, who knows how many times you do that. This could be your first time doing it. This could be your 100th time, your 1,000th time, your millionth time. You can't know. So it could be that every time you incarnate without memories, you choose the same path or a similar path. It's not exactly the same, but you choose a similar kind of path of fuck it, I'm just gonna indulge and die, and that's it. And so, I think about that, and I also think about kind of all of the people that have helped me throughout my life, the resources that have been poured in to become who I am now. Like we don't really think about. Sorry, I'm just moving my legs to just lay on the chair over on the other side. But we don't often think about the sheer amount of resources that it takes to raise and sustain like yourself. Um but like it just feels wrong to give up on yourself and um pursue the carnal pleasures and desires uh, without really bringing anything beautiful into the world or life changing or helping other people or whatever. And I just think that there were many times where I could have given up when being and feeling nihilistic, depressed, suicidal, all that stuff. And it's kind of like, I'm glad I didn't. I it always felt like there were times when maybe I would have never gotten out of it, out of that like mindset and seen the things I see. I think about how it's like, yeah, like I went to different parts of the United States and saw a bunch of cool things, and now I'm here in Italy. Seems like Italy's going to be I'm going to be exploring a lot more of Italy, even though I haven't really explored in the traditional sense, but it's like um there's just something about being in the energy of a specific place where it just changes things in some sort of esoteric way that I can't really comprehend. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't have experienced all of this without going through what I went through before, because I wouldn't have the perspective to be able to appreciate things the way I do. I appreciate just laying down and just not like having to worry about like, oh, am I doing something wrong by resting? No, I'm not. And if I need rest, even though I've rested before, then okay, fine, I need rest. And if I want to go and do things, then I go and do things. Um, but I think not giving up on yourself and not giving up on, um, like, I'll just say, for those of you that have watched the my past videos and the love life and all that stuff, um, my like love life kind of just fucking sucked. If I'm gonna be honest, um, I've always kind of it's like I've always chased to try and like bend over backwards to like find someone who will love me. And part of it is just like I just didn't understand that it's not that I was like not being myself, but it's that I hadn't fully grasped how kind of broken I was earlier on in my life. And so there was kind of this, like, I have an understanding now of like why when I would go after and try and like get with someone or whatever, that it never worked out because there was so many things that were kind of just like super obvious that I hadn't really dealt with, um, that made the prospect of dating someone with all of these struggles, regardless of the way the person looked, like if they are like traumatized really hard with a lot of stuff and they don't have like the capacity to understand what is kind of like what's going on inside, you can't like you can't really date someone like that and expect to have like a long-term relationship. Like you could, but it's kind of like the people who tend to do that are the ones who are like, well, I'm going to fix the person. Which, I mean, sure, maybe you can, maybe you can't, I don't know. But most people don't want to like carry your burdens in addition to their own. They want you to be able to be self-sufficient, or at the very least like understand yourself enough to be able to say, yeah, I'm struggling with this, and being like okay, this is a problem that I'm working on and I'm doing my best. And at least if they can be honest with themselves, then it's possible they can be honest with other people and kind of slowly work on themselves and all of this stuff. But I look back and I'm like, I remember this moment when I I had basically, it was the last person that I had tried to like have some sort of thing with. I don't really know what I would call it, but um, I was like right in the middle of like the latter stages of taking care of my grandfather, and so my entire like life revolved around taking care of him. And I don't regret taking care of him. I still love him. I loved him, all of that stuff, right? But um, I was basically taking all of me and giving it to try and make his life a bit less awful towards the end. Um, and I remember just scheduling, trying to hang out. Like, I'm going to give you a scenario here. And it's like so ridiculous now. I think about it and I'm like, that would never have worked. Like I couldn't have even had the time to allow for a relationship to happen, even if the person was reciprocating. But the person lived like 3 hours away. And so if I wanted to interact with them and then be in time to take care of my grandfather, I would have to be back by 12 in the morning. And I got off of the like shift at between 12 and 4 p.m. So basically, and it depended on the day, but like, we'll say that it was a 12 in the afternoon. Now, mind you, I can't sleep during that time, which means if I want any sleep at all, which back then I was getting like 5 hours of sleep on average, it was pretty awful. My body needs like 8 hours on average. So I really was kind of like just accruing this massive sleep debt. And then I would like, some days I would sleep the whole day. And then it'd be like, I'd kind of catch up. And then, I'd go back into sleep debt. But I was also going to school to try and do the computer science stuff. And so, I had schoolwork, I had the grandfather stuff, and then it's like, oh yeah, I totally want to like be in this like do this like relationship thing with this person who lives 3 hours away, who like also kind of has a packed schedule. Um and so basically I spend 6 hours driving. I don't know if it was a full 3 hours. It might have been like 2.5 hours, but we'll say it was 2.5. So it's like 5 hours of driving, and you get there. So like if I was to not sleep at all, I'd leave at like 12. I'd get there at like 3 or 4. Um, well, okay, yeah, because like by the time you get like everything ready to go, like I probably wouldn't have actually left until like 1 or 1:30 because I still had like other responsibilities aside from just taking care of him. So I don't think I would have left right away. But regardless, it's like 3 or 4 o'clock. You get there, and then you hang out for, I don't know, like 5-ish hours. Grab food and a vibe, and then you know they were doing like homework and stuff for half the time, so it's like they didn't really have much time to really devote to stuff. So it's like we're just kind of vibing in their place, and it's like, oh damn, I gotta, it's like 9 o'clock. I gotta get ready to go, and it's like I don't know how you could possibly have a like meaningful long-term relationship if that's just like you just have like 5 hours to hang out once a week, and maybe, and you don't really text that often because you're really busy, they're really busy. You don't call, and it's kind of like, yeah, like that would have never, nothing would have ever come out of that. And for that matter, like even if the person was like in the same like city as me, not having really much time at all to kind of devote to like deepening the bond, it's like what even is that? So I think about it, and I think about how it's like, yeah, I'm glad that we didn't have any sort of long-term thing go on, because that would have stretched the time that I had even thinner. Um, and it wouldn't have been healthy for me. It wouldn't have been healthy for her. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's even if I was a completely like healed individual and I had infinite energy and I didn't have to worry about sleeping and I didn't have to worry about like school, like that's still a crazy like ask to try and juggle things like that. So it just wouldn't have worked out. Um but stack on top of it all the other things, and it's like, yeah, it's no surprise. um and I think about all the other kind of relationships I've been in, and I say that loosely because it's like, yeah, it's just the more I think about them, the more I think about how I'm glad that none of them kind of worked out, because I just didn't have the capacity to be able to really, what's the word? I kind of feel like the type of relationship that is meaningful. Not I'm not talking about like one night stands or friends with benefits. I'm not talking about like long distance relationships, although they can be meaningful. So I'm not ragging on anyone for that, but I'm just kind of saying like the type of relationship that in my mind is like something worth kind of pursuing for me is one where I get to, well, number one, obviously the partner is like growing in a similar kind of fashion. Obviously, it doesn't have to be the same, but like they have a growth mindset of like always working on allowing their internal self to grow and change. It's an ever evolving process. Um, but when you have that kind of mindset, that also means that you're going to kind of constantly be learning new things about the person because they're going to be changing. And I think that's like, in and of itself, I think that's kind of cool. But I don't know. There's just as I like building a foundation, a solid foundation, and I like working for the late game, that's kind of how I view relationships as well. Where it's like I want to take time to like understand the intricacies of my partner and like figure out like, okay, you know, how can we kind of operate to where, I don't know, like, I don't know why it's so hard for me to talk about this. It's like it's harder than a lot of other things. Um, I feel like all the things that I do for, my friends and my family and, you know, the small things like, certain things that I've learned about my old roommates over time, where it's like I know, oh, the one roommate really likes a certain Gatorade. And so randomly deciding to just get a Gatorade like pack and then putting it in the fridge and then like surprising them with it, or like knowing, oh, such and such really likes this food, so randomly I'm like, hey, do you want to go to this food place? I know you really love it. Or just coming downstairs and not saying anything and just watching, maybe maybe one of the roommates is like playing a video game and just watching them play the video game. Not much has to be said there, but there's kind of like, there's like it's like special moments. It's like the little tiny things. And um thinking about like, oh, being incredibly thoughtful for like different holidays, or planning, spontaneous things that like, oh yeah, I remember that you like really wanted to do this thing, and so I planned it out and now we can go do it, or whatever. These are the kinds of things where it's not just like an act of service thing. It's like learning the person and then delving deeper, and kind of constantly kind of, I guess, becoming better at knowing the person. That's the kind of thing that like, that is where I think I would be excelling at, because it takes a lot of time for me to analyze all the little bits and pieces and kind of come up with like, understanding different things, and then also understanding, why is my, oh, okay, I don't know why it's not plugged in. Okay, well, anyway, um yeah, it takes time, and I think there's a deep level of like connection that you can form with people as you kind of build this unspoken understanding. And I don't know, that's the kind of like relationship that I feel would be meaningful, where instead of this quick, fiery kind of candle that burns out, uh, as life progresses, it actually gets more intense when it comes to like, the care and feelings and all of that stuff. Because, just like everything else, it's a slow ramp. Where at first is like, I don't know much at all about the person. So, of course, like, I'm going to need time to build up that knowledge. And kind of like, I don't know. I kind of imagine, because the person is kind of always striving to improve themselves and grow, I'm also going to have to always strive to improve myself in understanding. So it's like there's the same level of it's almost like falling in love with the person over and over and over again, for different reasons, where you maybe you've never known about this thing, whatever it is. It could be something really small. Uh, and it's like in that moment, you get like, there's this joy that you get from learning a new side of the person. And that's kind of, I guess that's the beauty of unconditional love, is like, as you delve deeper, there isn't ever a line that's drawn. So you get to explore all sorts of parts of the person. And it's like there's kind of never a point where you go, oh, now I suddenly don't love you because I found out something. It's the opposite. It's like, oh, wow, I love you more because I found out about more of you. Um, and, that's kind of just how I treat like everyone. So it's kind of, I like, because, I don't know. I don't know how to like. Sounds kind of weird when I say it like that. When it comes to like friends, but it's kind of like well, if I'm not going to have a partner in the moment, uh, at least I can kind of practice the skills on my friends and learn all the little things. Um, Now, to be fair, I don't, like I kind of don't treat it the same way that I would if I was in a relationship for obvious reasons. But like, um, yeah, I don't know. Like, God, it got weird for me all of a sudden. That's like, I feel kind of weird talking about this, but I don't know. It's I love seeing how deep the love that I can feel for someone goes. It's like an infinite well where I just learn more and more and I care about them more. And sometimes it's, people will do things that I'm like baffled at or it's frustrating or whatever, but I don't love them any less because it happens. I just see another facet of them and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, so you're struggling with this thing. It's like I can still love you, including that part of you. You know, Thinking about the roommate that like we ended up having to not have signed back on the lease. It's like it almost was like harder to not love him when he was like going through that. And so it's like, yeah, it's like of course I still love the person. I love them because of their uniqueness and their flaws. And so, you know, it was really hard for me to kind of make that kind of jump to allow myself to not be stepped on and to instead kind of instill boundaries that were just healthy, normal boundaries that you should have. Um, this is kind of where like the people pleasing stuff happens, where it's like, yeah, it's really in the past. It used to be really easy for me to just kind of give all of myself because no matter who it is, whether it's a friend that I've known for a couple weeks or roommates where I've lived with them for years or family that I've known my whole life. Um, it's it's tough to not give all of myself away because I just love how unique everyone is. Like, truly, it's like I feel so blessed to be able to see um like all the beauty that each person has and all the potential that they have, and to see them kind of struggling is really hard because it's like I want to I want to reach out and be like, hey, I understand, um I understand that this is hard, but you're gonna learn so much from going through this. And this is where it's like the hardest thing is to kind of let go and allow for people to make mistakes. It's like I understand. It's so weird. It's like I understand why parents can become helicopter parents, or smother their kids in love and affection and like be overbearing and protective and all this stuff. I understand where that comes from because it's like it's really hard to not want to just immediately help the kid when the kid is doing something that clearly is gonna like go wrong. You see it, you know it's gonna happen, but also it's like, how is the kid gonna be able to learn if they don't make the mistake? If you always fix the problem before they learn from it, what they're learning is that you're going to be there to fix the problem regardless of what it is. They're not learning what they need to be learning in order to problem solve, in order to fix their own problems, their own mistakes. And so this is where there's this next level of unconditional love where it's like, I love you so much that I'm letting go and I'm allowing you to make the mistakes. And I'm not going to fix the things for you. If I have the ability to, it may not be in your best interest in the long run for me to help you in this moment. And that was a really hard thing for me to kind of like grasp because each person is on a journey, and through that journey they have to make mistakes to in order to learn. If they're proactive, they won't make as many mistakes, but they still will make mistakes. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I kind of circled around. But I guess getting back to the partner stuff, I am excited to be able to be with a partner where I can make mistakes, they can make mistakes, and instead of pushing each other away because we make mistakes, it's like we just grow stronger. Like our bond grows stronger because of like, okay, yeah, we learn from whatever mistakes were made, um, and having someone that's able to go with you on your journey through truly through like thick and thin. um that's the kind of love and connection that I can like pour all of myself into, if that makes sense. And it's not about like, I'm not saying like smother the partner. It's like using all the skills that I've built when it comes to building foundations and when it comes to like building constructs and all of this stuff. It's like yeah, I can build constructs, not my whole like existence, but I can definitely like take a part of my like internal space and kind of devote that to like constructs that make sense for the partner. And those constructs could be things like knowing, you know, all the little things that the partner really loves. Um, and then knowing when like the partner evolves and suddenly those things aren't as interesting or whatever anymore and it's onto something else. Because I think one of the things I've noticed, and this happened a lot with, like I noticed this with my mom and with my grandfather and other people in my life, where the kind of default way of doing like this kind of thing, which, just to be clear, this is them showing love, right? But what happens is, like, my grandfather every year would buy a little pack of Peeps for every birthday, for every Christmas event, for all that stuff for my sister. And it's because one year my sister like got Peeps and really liked Peeps. And then the next year, my grandfather's like, "Oh, she really likes Peeps, so I'm gonna get more Peeps for her." And he's excited that he's like, "Okay, I found something that she really cares and loves, and so I'm gonna make sure to like keep giving that to them, or to my sister in this case." And it's like, well, my sister eventually grew up and didn't really like Peeps anymore. And it was kind of a weird situation where she's like, well, okay, I don't know how to tell him that I don't really like Peeps anymore. Um, and so, it's obviously like my grandfather's just trying to do something really nice for my sister. It has nothing to do with like the lack of love. What it has to do with is, they're not really being a way for them to communicate well, to like for my sister to be like, hey, I love that you get me Peeps, but Peeps aren't really my thing. Or better yet, if my grandfather could have kind of found out that Peeps are like, maybe she doesn't like Peeps but instead like something else, right? um but like my point is that as people evolve over time, their interests and their likes and dislikes change over time too. And so I think that's where it's like always being in a learning mindset of like, in my from my perspective, it's like building a construct to like continuously be learning about new things about the partner, so that then over time it's like it's like I get to see the patch notes of every version of them, which is really cool. I only really get to see the patch notes of myself because I'm not um super invested in that way where I'm not diverting a bunch of like time and resources mentally to being able to track, you know, a person in that level of detail. But if I have a partner, it's like, yeah, like I can devote some mental energy for that. Um and there's kind of like, there's the like learning about something versus like becoming a stalker, right? So it's like, you got to be careful about not crossing that line. Um but it's like, again, that's why it's a slow over time kind of thing. Um where you build the foundation over years, and that foundation, just keeps or allows for you to build all sorts of beautiful buildings, which is the relationship. Um so yeah, I don't know. uh I kind of this is an awkward day. um it definitely, like, talking about this, I think I get more uncomfortable talking about this than like anything else, and I think that's just because I this is like such an important like thing for me, um that I'm looking forward to giving my all to a relationship, whatever it is. um it just feels like it's exciting for me because uh and quite frankly, it's kind of moving a little bit past that. It's like giving my all to like everything, because I've kind of held myself back for most of my life. um Tiptoed around, made sure that I'm not like rocking the boat, make sure that I make people feel comfortable, um give myself up and sacrifice myself instead of, um, protecting myself and my kind of peace. And I'm looking forward to living a life where I'm giving everything my all, and that includes the relationship stuff. Um, the foundational work, though boring, or at least to me it feels boring because I've been doing it for so long. It's kind of like, man, I can't wait to start building. It's like, God, what wonders I'm going to be building on this foundation. Like, my imagination goes wild with all of the cool stuff that I'll be able to build on this foundation. And that includes a loving relationship where it's like an infinite spiral where I fall deeper and deeper in love with someone. Like, that sounds awesome. Um so yeah. Um I guess it's embarrassing because I feel really like corny and sappy talking about that. Uh but that is like, out of all the kind of things that I desire in life, I mean, that's up there. It's like, it's the thing, the like deep soul bond like relationship that like I don't know. Like there's like no words to really even describe the like deep connection that I kind of know is coming. And so it's like it's embarrassing, number one, because it's like I don't know. It's the thing that I probably like want the most. But also it's the thing that I like dare not hope for lack of feeling incredibly disappointed um if it didn't happen. And that's where it's like I've been slowly working on allowing myself to hope and allowing myself to dream of this wonderful, beautiful kind of relationship because I know it's there. I know it's out there. And I can't imagine how wonderful that's going to be. Uh, just as I haven't really uh, given up on myself, I haven't given up on pouring my love into someone um, in a way that like really only you could do with a partner. Like, yeah, you could do it to like a best friend, but it's a little bit different with that. Um, and I don't know. There's just something special about it. And so yeah, um, it's kind of it gets me like I don't know anxious and I just keep thinking about how like it's like the past few days really have been just crazy with the like messaging where it's like okay there's like one person yesterday it was like last night before I went to bed that literally was like it I still can't get over how crazy this is. The person literally mentions Italy seemingly out of nowhere. I don't know. I don't even remember the sentence with which Italy came through, but it literally was like, uh, they mention they're like something about Italy, and then they go on with their like message, and it's like fuck. I know that you are like letting me know that this is like this message. I'm meant to be listening to this. There are some messages where it's like I don't know, doesn't really feel like it's necessarily for me, but there are some specific kind of verbiage, and it's like those the spirit team just fucking knows what to say. It's like, oh yeah, well, we got the list. All right, here we go. um Mention Phoenixes, check. Mention Italy, check. Mention, and then the list gets really fucking like there's like six or seven things that that basically all get mentioned, and I'm just like how the fuck does this keep happening? you know, I'll see the numbers, like the different like angel numbers throughout the day. Then I'll see like, a video that pops up that it's like I'll right click to like open it in a new tab to watch it later instead, and the video clicks instead. It's like, okay, fine. I guess I was supposed to watch it now. And then, of course, the video has like all the fucking hallmarks of the thing where it's like, okay, you were traveling recently, you left your home, you went overseas, you went to Italy, or like, obviously, it's not exactly like that, but it's like, um, oh, we got the chariot card. That's interesting. There's like a balance aspect, and the chariot card sometimes is movement, but more likely than not, it's like there's like other cards and they'll mean movement, and it's like, oh, interesting. You're heading to maybe a different, like maybe you're moving. You're this seems really far away. Maybe it's a different continent, and it's like, and then later they're talking about like, oh yeah, you know, yeah, I've always wanted to travel to Italy, or like, something like that. And then it's just like, it's like, how does this keep happening? And then there's the synchronicity of like, somehow these videos that pop up also mirror themselves. Different people, different like, um different ways that they read, but they say the same thing in the same day. It's like the video gets released at the same time. So it's like I'll see like two or three people where they'll all post, and they could be new people I've never seen before, or they could be people that maybe I've seen a few times or whatever. But they all say the same thing. I'll say I have, in fact, I'm going to pull this up because I know that no one will ever believe me on this. So eventually I will show the playlist. I'm not going to do it now, but I've made this playlist. I just call it Motivation. That was originally what the playlist was for, and then I started doing this unconsciously. But it's at like 200 videos at this point. 198 actually. But pause. Okay. So right, so the first like 30 videos is like nothing. But so I'll just look at, okay. So just today, or today and yesterday, we got this one person that I know pretty well at this point. This person I also know pretty well. This person is random. I'm just looking at the videos. This person is random. I've never seen them before in my life. This person. So far they're all different. Just to be clear, these are all different people. This person I've never seen before. 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 This person I've kind of seen a few times. And I'm going back, and it's starting to like, I'm like at like, a week at this point where I'm looking at different things. Oh yeah, and then there's some songs randomly that people will suggest that I'll listen to, and then the song will be like, oh my god, this song like totally matches how I'm feeling or whatever. But yeah, it's like there are some like repeat offenders, if you will. But more often than not, it's just random people I've never seen before, and it just keeps happening. And I'm like just mind blown that they're all synchronistically like synced up on the video at the same time. It's like crazy. So maybe at some point I will like. I don't necessarily want to like release that just because it's like, I don't know, it kind of is a little personal. I say that, but I've shared like just about everything. But I don't know, there's like some extra layer of like it feels wrong to like share how spirit has been like talking to me, if that makes sense. Even though I do talk about it, but it's like it's different than like showing you the individual videos. I don't know. Maybe someday. But anyway, so so there's like that. And there's just like throughout this, basically from like February on, the amount of synchronicities that I've just experienced is so insane that it's like I can't possibly ignore the sheer amount of like synchronicities. Individually, they're all like small, but when they pile up, it's like yeah. And the thing is, it's all very targeted too. So I don't know. It's kind of wild. Um, but anyway, kind of moving back to my main kind of thing I was talking about. Um, I just, it's like I'm in this period where I'm doing the final touches of that foundation, and it's like basically done. And so I'm starting to like build up some constructs on the foundation. And yeah, occasionally I'll like polish the foundation a little bit just to make sure that it stays like really nice and even. And I'm building the foundations, and then I'll take a minute to look at the foundational, or look at the work that I've done on the structures, and then maybe I'll take them down and I'll build them differently, or I'll change something or swap it out or whatever. But it's like I'm getting closer and closer to that moment where I can start rapidly building. And I say rapid, but it's like once the foundation and the buildings, the structures that I'm like trying to put in place, such as, you know, the cooking, like, food that I can cook anywhere, the like, what is the thing that I can do that will be like, I can eat this anywhere and I'm happy with it and I can mix it up and it makes me feel good and all that stuff. Like, that's one thing. Then it's like doing the work with like the writing and the game thing, and then, figuring out where exercise fits in and like activity, and then figuring out like the right ratio of like playing randomly a video game or listening to a book or watching movies or TV shows or whatever. And then like, figuring out how much rest is like too much rest and how much rest is not enough rest. Um Figuring out about like okay, what's the optimal like amount of time that I enjoy like being out and about and doing things. And then, it's like all of these things seemingly are the basis with which I can, once this outer layer is built, then the inner layer gets built, and it's like I'm building it reverse, where the deeper I go, the more kind of flow I get on that specific thing. So it's like, I think this is why it is so hard for me to um constantly travel. This is why I know that the constant travel I don't think is a long-term viable option. I think it's going to have to be a back and forth where I have a foundational base somewhere. And then I can I can go somewhere, spend like I don't want to be in a rush when I go to a place. Um, I want to like ground in the space, and I want to enjoy all the things in that new space. And then I want to go and explore the little things like, you know, getting to know people around the area and seeing the different like nature things and the trees and the people and the different shops. And it's like kind of enjoying the process of like a fresh build effectively. And then you build a little thing and then you really enjoyed it, and then you go to the next place and then you do it again. But you can't really do that on like a week or 2 week time period. It's just too short, at least in my opinion. um for me it's just too short. uh Now obviously if there's like, if it's like, oh, like going and doing a thing and you're not really there for a long time because you're going for this one specific thing, that's totally different. But I'm talking about if you're trying to like explore a new area, a new continent, or a new city, or whatever, taking the time to be able to like really mesh with the energy. um that's the kind of stuff where it's like, yeah, that's awesome. So but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what today was about. I talked about a lot of things. um I'm sure this is helpful for someone. I don't know. uh yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna let you guys go, and I don't know, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.